Welcome to the Week 18 NFL Sports Betting Picks video here at FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus Network. It is the penultimate week of the NFL season right now. A couple playoff spots still up for grabs, a lot of playoff seeding that is up for grabs at the moment. And by the end of this week, we'll know who's going to be playing who in the next round here. So let's get started by looking at, we do have 2 Saturday games this week, followed by a whole slew of games on Sunday. No Monday night football game this week, but there is an 8 o'clock Sunday night game, which will be the last game of the NFL season. So the first game we're going to look at here is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos, which is going to be kicking things off for us on Saturday. The Chiefs are 11-5 on the season. They are tied for the #1 record in the AFC with Tennessee, although Tennessee does have the tiebreaker on them because Tennessee beat them 27-3 in week 7, meaning that if the Titans and Chiefs both win, then the Titans are going to be the #1 seed. In order for the Kansas City Chiefs to be the #1 seed and get the bye in the first round, they're going to need to win this game against Denver and also get some help by way of the Tennessee Titans losing their game this week, which is very unlikely to happen given the matchup. Denver is 7-9 on the year. They were eliminated from the playoffs, so they really have nothing to play for except for pride here today. So when I run numbers on this game, I get exactly what the books have here. I get the Chiefs should be favored by 10 points in this game. You know, DraftKings has it at 10. BetMGM has it at 10. A lot of the other sites around the industry are also sitting at -10 here. -10 is the number for this game. Like I said, the Chiefs do actually have something to play for. Even if they lose, they're still in the playoffs, so it's not like they could be eliminated at this point. But if they want any chance to have that #1 seed, they really have to win this game. The next game up is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. These are two teams that have already clinched playoff berths right now. So this game is really just more for seeding. Although I got to be honest, I don't know if there's going to be much change in what's going to happen here, whether either one of these teams wins or lose. Dallas is 11-5. They clinched the division already. They're going to get a home game here. And like I said, it's not likely to change. There are some crazy scenarios that would require multiple teams winning and or losing. But for the most part, it looks like Dallas is destined for a first-round matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. The reason why I mention this is because if there really isn't a lot of movement that the Dallas Cowboys can have here, I don't know how motivated they're really going to be to win this game. I don't know if they're going to play their starters the full game. I don't know if you're going to get a quarter or two from the starters, and then they're going to play the backups. It's something to keep in mind, though, that this is one of those games that I'm a little on the fence about whether or not I even want to take a chance betting on because we do have that to worry about. The same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles, really. I mean, the Eagles are 9-7. They have clinched a playoff berth. Whether they win or lose, they're going to be in the playoffs here. Right now, the only difference for them, or the only thing that really matters for them, is whether they're going to be playing the Los Angeles Rams or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I don't think it really matters either way for them. I mean, you're playing two good teams one way or another. It's not like, oh, we want to win because we want this team or we want to lose because we want that team kind of deal. They're in the playoffs, win or lose. And like I said, it doesn't really matter one way or another. They're getting either the Rams or Tampa Bay. So two tough teams that they're going to have to play in the first round. Unfortunately, when I run my number on this game anyway, assuming that the guys played the full game and that this was a normal week of the season, I get the same 2.5 number that the books are getting right here. So, you know, the Cowboys are the side that makes a little more sense. 2.5, you get the field goal right there. I'd rather play it on BetMGM at -110 than, you know, -115 on DraftKings. But again, until we get some news about what the Cowboys are thinking and how they're going to handle this game, just be a little cautious about this one because even though they technically have some things to play for, they also kind of don't have things to play for, if that makes sense. So those are the 2 Saturday games that we have. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back to take a look at the rest of the games on Sunday and our first look at the NFL Week 18 sports betting picks here at FTN Bets. Welcome back, everybody, to our NFL Week 18 sports betting picks video here at FTN Bets. We're going to take a look at the Sunday games now, and we're going to start off with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. So the Green Bay Packers are 13-3 on the season. They're the #1 seed in the NFC. And no matter what happens in this game, they're going to remain the #1 seed in the NFC and have a bye going into the first round of the playoffs. Detroit is 2-13-1, currently the holders of the #2 pick in the draft. Jacksonville is 2-14. So if the Lions lose this game and Jacksonville wins, there is still a chance they can get the #1 pick, but most likely they're going to be the #2 pick in the draft this year. As you can see here, I don't have a line for DraftKings and I don't have a line for BetMGM on this game because neither one of them has managed to post a line for this game yet. And the reason for that is very simple. The Packers right now, like I said, win, lose, draw, doesn't really matter for them. They are locked into that number one seed overall. So we have to see what they're going to do. Are they going to sit some of their regulars? Are they going to let them play a quarter? We have no idea what's going to happen in this game. Therefore, the books have no idea what's going to happen in this game. And that's why there are no spreads on this game right here. So really, there's nothing we can do with this game at the moment. Like I said, this game honestly doesn't matter for the Packers. It probably matters a little bit for the Lions, but really, there's nothing we can talk about here. Now, this is a game that does matter for the playoffs here, and that's the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Indianapolis, 9-7 on the season. They're currently tied with the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders, who actually play each other this week, for the final two playoff spots that are up for grabs in the AFC. Now, one of those teams between the Chargers and the Raiders are very likely to win that game. I mean, it could end in a tie, but one of them is likely to win that game. And whoever wins that game is going to be in the playoffs. If the Colts win their game, they will also be the other team that's in the playoffs. So they control their own destiny here, and they get a really good matchup to control their own destiny too. Jacksonville is 2-14 on the season, currently the holders of the number one pick. If they lose, they guarantee the number one pick. If they win, we just went over what happened with Detroit and what they need to do there. So when I run numbers on this game, I get Indianapolis should be favored by 13. 15 and a half is the numbers in the market. So it's a little rich for my blood. I don't know if I would really want to be betting anything on the Colts or even teasing the Colts down to 9 here. I think the better situation would be teasing the Jags up to 21 and a half over on like a BetMGM. Like I said, I think there is a little bit of value on the Jaguar side. I think it's a few too many points, but I mean, when we're talking like 13 to 15 here, it's not a massive difference. The Colts should absolutely crush the Jaguars in this game. Like I said, they have something to play for. They're playing for their playoff lives here. The Jaguars have nothing to play for, and it actually benefits them to lose this game. So I think the Colts win. I think the Colts win by a lot. Would I be willing to lay 15 points on it, though? No, I'm not willing to lay 15 points. So I guess you could say I'm kind of bearish on this number. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins against the New York Giants. The Redskins are 6-10 currently. They are eliminated from the playoffs. They have nothing to play for here. The Giants are 4-12 currently. They are also eliminated from the playoffs and have nothing to play for here. When I run the number on this game, I get that the Redskins should be favored by about 2.5 points. So I am bearish on the Redskins laying 6.5 here. Do I think Washington's the better team? Yes. Do I think the Giants are bad? Yes. Do I think Washington can put up a ton of points, though, to really beat somebody by a touchdown? No, not really. I mean, if the Giants can get to 17, there's a good chance that the Giants cover this number here because I don't see Washington getting to 24 overall. Hopefully, they'll have Antonio Gibson back next week. He missed this game with COVID. But really, you watched that game last week. Like, Washington did not look all that great. So I don't think the Redskins are a very good team. I do think they're better than the Giants. I think they deserve to be favored. I just don't think they deserve to be favored by about a touchdown. So I am bearish on the Washington Redskins this week as well. The next game up, we have the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears are 6-10, eliminated for the playoffs, nothing to play for here. The Vikings are 7-9. They have also now been eliminated from the playoffs and don't really have anything to play for here. When I run a number on this game, I get Vikings should be favored by 3.5, which is the exact number that BetMGM has. A little bit below the number that DraftKings has. DraftKings has them at -4 here. There's really not a lot of value here. My number is -3. The numbers that the books are offering are -3 and -4. We're pretty much in line with the market here. Like I said, this is a game that doesn't really have any implications for anything moving forward. We don't know if these teams are going to let some of their younger guys get a little more run, let some of the guys towards the end of free agency maybe get a little bit of run to see what they have and whether or not they want to sign some of these guys. We don't know if they're going to sit some of the guys they have that they know they're going to lose in free agency and, let some of the younger players kind of get a little bit more, experience. It's a tough situation to be in. Like I said, this is a game where I am kind of on market with everything. I don't know how things are going to turn out. Nothing really here to bet on or talk about. Next up is the Carolina Panthers taking on the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fresh off a last-second victory over my New York Jets, with Antonio Brown taking off his shirt and leaving the arena, going to catch an Uber before the traffic, which is a smart thing to do in New Jersey, not going to lie. Carolina is 5-11. Nothing to play for here. They've been eliminated from the playoffs. Tampa Bay is 12-4. They are currently tied for the number 2 seed in the NFC with the Los Angeles Rams. They are a game behind Green Bay, although Green Bay has the tiebreaker. So Green Bay is the number 1 seed no matter what. So right now for Tampa Bay, it's just a matter of, are they the number 2 or are they the number 3? They're pretty much destined for the Rams in the second round, if that is the case. It doesn't really matter who the first round opponent is for them. It'll probably be most likely San Francisco or the Philadelphia Eagles, but there's a lot of things that have to happen before we can say that for sure. But that's the way that we're looking here. I actually am pretty bullish on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game, though. I think the Buccaneers should be favored by 13 points here. And that is even after factoring in the fact that Antonio Brown is obviously no longer with the team. Chris Godwin is obviously hurt. Mike Evans was banged up last week. He did play, score a touchdown, but he was very limited. There were times towards the end of the game where I would have expected to see him on the field, and he wasn't on the field in that game. So, it's definitely something that we have to watch and monitor. And with all that being said, I still think the Buccaneers should be favored by double digits here. My number on this game is minus 13. The number that the books are offering, 9.5. BetMGM, 9.5 at standard juice, better than DraftKings at minus 115. I like the Bucks here. I like the Bucks money line. I like teasing the Bucks down to 3.5. I want to have a lot of exposure to Tampa Bay this week. I just think this number is a little too low for how good. It's almost disrespectful to Tampa Bay how low this is. I am bullish on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The next game up, the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. New England is 10-6. They are tied with Buffalo for the AFC East crown here. Both teams are going to make the playoffs one way or another. Depending on how this week turns out, though, one of them could be a favorite who, winds up getting a home game. Buffalo has the inside track on that right now. So New England really needs to win this game and have Buffalo lose, which I think is very unlikely given Buffalo's matchup, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But with that being said, the Patriots do still want to go out there and win this game. Very likely, if the Patriots win and Buffalo wins, I'm pretty sure it sets up that Buffalo and New England will play in the first round of the playoffs next week up in Buffalo, which would be a very interesting game to watch here. Miami is 8-8 on the season. I don't think they can still make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they were eliminated yesterday because of tiebreakers and things along those lines. But if they do win this game, they would be 9-8. There'd be a bunch of other 9-8 teams there. So we'd have to see how that all works out. But if they're not eliminated, they have like a 1% chance of making it. They would need I don't know. I think they would need a tie in the Chargers-Raiders game, and they would need a couple other teams to lose. So, again, they're not completely eliminated, but pretty much they are done for the season here. So the interesting thing is when I run the numbers on this game, I think -6, -5.5 is way too many points. I think this should be under a field goal here. I have the Patriots -2 is the number that I have with them on the road here. So I am bearish on the New England Patriots. Do I think the Patriots win this game? Absolutely. I do think the Patriots will win this game. I just don't want to lay 6 points with them here. It also depends what Dolphins team we get, because sometimes the Dolphins have looked like one of the best teams in the league. They reeled off, 7 or 8 straight victories there. They did do it against some COVID teams and some teams that weren't very good. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is a team that has a very solid offense. I should say a very solid defense and a serviceable enough offense that they can keep them in games, especially against a team that doesn't score a ton of points like the Patriots, although the Patriots did hang like 50 on Jacksonville last week. Really, at the end of the day, New England needs to win this game. Like I said, I am bearish on them, though. I think 6 is too many points here. So for the betting side, I'd rather be on the Dolphins +6 over on DraftKings. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. New Orleans is 8-8. So they need to win this game to go to 9-8, and they also need a San Francisco loss. If San Francisco loses, I think New Orleans jumps ahead of them, and they would have that final playoff spot there. So not only do they need to win, but they're also going to need a little help in order for them to make the playoffs for that last playoff spot in the NFC. Atlanta is 7-9. So after last week, they are now eliminated from playoff contention as well. Nothing for them to play for here. When I run a number on this game, I get the Saints should be favored by -3. -4.5 is a little bit too much here. I don't want to lay 4.5 with the Saints on the road. Do I think they can cover that number? Yeah, I do. But, there's something that we've talked about quite a bit since Taysom Hill has taken over. You look at the games from last year with Taysom Hill and even the games from this year with Taysom Hill, they're not an incredibly high-scoring team, the New Orleans Saints. They have a very good defense. They run the ball. They try to control the clock. So I don't like laying a lot of points with them because this is not a team that's going to win a lot of games by 2 or 3 touchdowns like the Buffalo Bills can, or, like some of these more explosive offenses like Green Bay or Kansas City. This is a team that wins games by just grinding out their opponents. So I don't ever want to lay more points with the Saints than I think they should be. And like I said, I think the Saints should be -3 here. So I'm a little bit bearish on this number at 4.5. The next game up, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans. Tennessee is 11-5. They've clinched the AFC South title, and they are currently the #1 team in the AFC, tied with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Titans beat the Chiefs 27-3 back in week 7, meaning that they have the inside track on the #1 overall seed. All they have to do is go out and beat a 4-12 Texans team who has been eliminated for playoff contention for a couple weeks here already. When I run the number on this game, I get Titans should be favored by 9.5. So I'm on the other side of the 10 from what the sports books are offering right now at 10.5. Does it really matter in the overall scheme of things? I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't think it does. I don't think there's any value here. I wouldn't bet Texans plus 10.5 just because my number is 9.5. It also wouldn't deter me from betting on the Titans. I don't really want to tease them down to 4.5. I don't think that's enough points, even though they should cover that as well. The Titans are another team that right now is relying on their defense and has an offense that has so many injuries that they're not putting up massive scores. So when you have a team that doesn't put up massive numbers, laying 10.5 is asking a lot here. Now, again, I think they could blow the Texans right off of the field in this game, even with this game being in Houston. But at the same point in time, I just don't see any value in it. So I'm passing on this one. Now, here's an interesting one. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. So Pittsburgh plays the Monday Night Football game this week, and we do this video Monday morning, so we don't have the results of that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game that's going to be going on tonight. Pittsburgh is 7-1. They need to basically win these 2 games and also get some help in the way of either an Indianapolis loss or a Chargers-Raiders tie in order to have a chance to make the playoffs here. They can't control what other teams can do. All they can do is control what they do. So they need to go out tonight and beat the Cleveland Browns. And then they need to go into Baltimore next week and beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are also 8-8. They need to win this game to go to 9-8. And they're also going to need some help. Again, the ties, the losses by Indy and the Chargers and the Raiders are kind of the things that they would need as well to get that help in order to push them into a chance to make the playoffs. Their chances of making the playoffs very, very, very minute, but they're not completely eliminated. There are some crazy scenarios where they could still make it, although it's a very, very low chance here. Now, we don't know if Lamar Jackson is going to play here or not. Huntley looked pretty good last week, so I don't really think that's a major deal. But I think what the sports books did is kind of split the difference here, because with Huntley as quarterback, I would say that the Ravens deserve to be favored by -3. And that would mean that, to me, there's probably a little bit of value on the Steelers here at +4.5. Now, this is also assuming the Steelers win against the Cleveland Browns. If the Steelers don't have anything to play for next week, we don't know exactly what they're going to do. But I'm assuming that if the Steelers win, they go to 8-7-1. They still have an outside shot to make the playoffs. They're going to have all their starters, all their best players. They're going to actually try to win this game. If so, I think there is some value on them at +4.5 here. If Lamar Jackson plays, though, I think the Ravens should be favored by like -6 or -7. So like I said, I think what the sports books did is kind of split the difference here. So there's a bunch of things you'd have to think about before betting on this game. And again, I would wait until after the Monday Night Football game to even get any money down here. If the Steelers win tonight and Lamar Jackson's not going to play, then I think there's value on the Steelers. If the Steelers win tonight and Lamar Jackson is going to play next week, then the value is probably on the Ravens side of this game, is the way that I would look at it. So, just keep that in mind. I don't want to say bullish or bearish right now, because there are 3 or 4 things that could change this all around right now. So that's why I wanted to kind of go that way with it and just kind of give you guys this is a week of scenarios, right? So I want to give you all the scenarios. So depending on how the chips fall, you guys know what you can do with them. So here's the game that I was talking about. My New York Jets taking on the Buffalo Bills here. Let's see. The Jets on the season are 4-12. They are completely eliminated from the playoffs. Nothing to play for. It's just a matter of where they're going to wind up drafting this year. Buffalo is 10-6. They are tied for #1 in the AFC East. They have the inside track right now. If they win this game, they get home field advantage, probably against the New England Patriots. If they lose this game and the Patriots win, then the Patriots are going to get home field advantage and probably wind up playing the Buffalo Bills in the first round. So Buffalo and New England are pretty much destined for a first round matchup. And assuming that Buffalo handles their business and beats the New York Jets, as they should here, Buffalo is going to be the place where that game is going to take place next week. Now, 17 is an absolute ton of points here. I have the spread at, let's see, when I run numbers, we get 14.5 on the Buffalo Bills here. So 17 is a little bit too rich. 16.5 at BetMGM, still a little bit too rich, but a little bit closer to my number here. So the value is technically on the Jets side. Do I want to bet on the Jets? As one of the biggest Jet fans out there, I can tell you you're crazy if you're going to be betting on a New York Jets side. Buffalo should win this game. Buffalo is very likely to win this game. Buffalo is likely to win this game big. Whether they win it by 14 or 17 or 21 or 24, I don't really know. But like I said, my number is a little bit below here, so I don't think there's a lot of value. I think Buffalo wins. I think Buffalo wins easy, but I'm a little bit bearish on laying 17 or 16.5 points with them. And that brings us to our last game in the 1 o'clock window between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. Now, again, the Browns play on Monday Night Football. They are 7-8. If they win that game, they are 8-8. They're basically eliminated from the playoffs, but there is like a 0.1% chance, depending on the craziness that could happen with Chargers and Raiders. If they wind up tying, they both finish at 9-7-1. If the Browns win against Pittsburgh and the Browns win this game, they could get to 9-8 and technically move ahead of them. Maybe you get a loss from Indianapolis as well. Like I said, there's a lot of scenarios, a lot of things that need to happen, but for the most part, the Cleveland Browns are basically eliminated from the playoffs here. So let's take a look at this game here. Cincinnati is 10-6. They have clinched the AFC North. There are two teams at 11-5. If both of those teams lose, Tennessee loses and Kansas City loses, the Bengals do have an outside shot at being the number 1 overall seed. Is it likely? Is it going to happen? Probably not. But again, I'm just trying to give you guys the scenarios. Most likely one of those teams wins, which would mean that the Bengals are going to wind up with a bye. So really, it just comes down to who they're going to play in the first round. Is it going to be the Chargers? Is it going to be the Raiders? Is it going to be the Indianapolis Colts? One of those teams is probably who the Bengals are going to play, win or lose here. So really, when I'm running numbers on this game, I get that the Cleveland Browns should be favored by 1.5 points. I actually do think the Browns should be favored at home against the Bengals here by about 1.5 points. The Bengals may not play all their guys this week because, like I said, they already clinched their spot. We'll find out if Kansas City wins on that Saturday game, then the Bengals' chances of getting the number 1 overall seed are basically dead no matter what happens in that Tennessee game. So at that point, they may decide to rest some guys or only play some guys a couple quarters. If Kansas City loses and it looks like the Bengals have a chance for that number 1 seed and they're really going to play and have all their guys out there and let them play the full game, then yeah, you probably do want to take the Bengals money line here. I mean, I think the Bengals at full strength, I would take the money line against the Browns here, even at Cleveland. But like I said, I don't know if they're going to be at full strength because I don't know if they really want to win this game. And whenever we have one of those scenarios, we're just going to avoid the things that we don't know this week and try to bet on the things that we do know. And this is one of those unknown situations. So there you go. That wraps it up for the 1 o'clock Sunday games. We do have a couple 4 o'clock games and the Sunday night game to talk about to wrap up the NFL season here when we return on our NFL Week 18 sports betting picks video from FTN Bets. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Week 18 NFL Sports Betting Picks video here at FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus Network. We have 3 more games to talk about here, and we're going to start with the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams, a game that does have some playoff implications. The San Francisco 49ers are currently 9-7. They're in a win and you're in spot for the last playoff spot in the NFC. If they lose, there are still some scenarios where they do make the playoffs, but it would be, the easy thing for them to do is just go win this game and guarantee that they're in here. But like I said, if they lose, there are still some scenarios with other teams behind them losing that could help them make the playoffs. The big one for them is going to be that NewOrleansSaints game. That's the one that they're going to have to keep an eye on if they lose this game to the Rams. The Rams are currently 12-4. They are tied for the number 2 record in the NFC with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are the number 1 team in the NFC West. And like Tampa Bay, they have no chance of moving ahead of the Green Bay Packers. So they're going to have to play a first-round game. They're going to get a first-round home game. It's just a matter of who they wind up playing, if they win or lose, Tampa Bay wins or loses, and what happens behind them. Is there a chance the Rams could sit some of their guys? Absolutely. There's definitely a chance that the Rams could sit some of their guys here because, like I said, they already know they're in the playoffs. They know they can't get the number 1 seed. They're going to have a home game one way or another. It really just comes down to who they play right now. So, again, not a ton of motivation there. San Fran actually has more motivation than LA does because San Fran could be in danger of not making the playoffs if they lose this game. So with all that in mind, when I run the numbers on this, I think the number's too high anyway at -5.5. I would get Rams -3 is the number that I have here. And again, that's not even factoring in motivation. That's just purely based on the numbers. I get Rams -3 here. So what do we do with this game? Well, I think the value is actually on the San Francisco side. So San Francisco +5.5 is the side of this game I want to be on right now. Like I said, they are more motivated to win this game than the LA Rams are. You're not going to see San Francisco sit any of their guys. They're going to play all the way through to the final, the final whistle. The Rams may wind up sitting some of their guys. So we don't exactly know how that's all going to play out. So with the fact that I think it's just too many points already, and there's also the added uncertainty of the Rams like letting their guys play the entire game here, I think that I am just bearish on the Rams at -5.5. I'd rather be on the San Francisco side. I'll take the points with the 49ers here rather than laying them with the Los Angeles Rams. That brings us to a game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals here. Seattle is 6-10 on the year. They are eliminated from playoff contention. Arizona is 11-5. If the Rams lose, I do think the Cardinals still have an outside shot of winning that division. I would have to double check on who has the tiebreakers there. But most likely what's going to happen is the Cardinals are going to end up as the wild card team with the best overall record. Like I said, there is still an outside chance. I don't think the Rams clinched the division yet. I think there's still an outside chance that the Cardinals could clinch the division if they win this game. So the Cardinals are motivated. The Seahawks are not motivated really here. But the Seahawks are playing better. I mean, Penny's looked really good running. Russell Wilson has looked better now after the last couple of weeks. He's had some time to let that finger heal. So I think this is too many points with the Cardinals being favored by 6.5. I get 4.5 on this one right here. So I am a little bit bearish on the Arizona Cardinals here. Do I really want to bet on the Seahawks +6.5? Not really, but that is the side where I think the value is. If you're going to tease this game, I'd rather tease it up to 12.5 than tease the Cardinals down to just winning. The Seahawks, I think there is some value there at 6.5. So like I said, I don't love it, but the Seahawks is the side I'd want to be on. I am bearish on the Arizona Cardinals. And that brings us to our final game of the 2021-2022 NFL season. It is going to be the 8:20 game at night between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. We have mentioned it 3 or 4 times throughout the show already. Both of these teams have the exact same record. They're both sitting at 9-7. This is a win and you're in game for both of these teams, with the loser likely being out. So either one of these teams could wind up making it into the playoffs. All they have to do is win this game here. When I run numbers on this game, I get, and this is great, I get that this game should be a pick 'em. I get I have the Chargers slightly better than the Raiders, with the Raiders being at home. That kind of eliminates that slight difference there. I think that this is a pick 'em game. I think it's a great idea for this to be the game that the NFL flex at 8 o'clock at night, because I do think that it's a game that is going to be close. I think it's a game that obviously has some playoff implications. So the atmosphere is going to be crazy. It's going to be in Las Vegas, where they're doing the Pro Bowl this year and, trying to promote that new Las Vegas stadium as well. I don't think the NFL could have asked for anything better than what they're going to get here. So anyway, like I said, if I have this game as a pick 'em, the Raiders at home getting 3 points is definitely the side of this game we want to be on. I don't even hate the money line on the Raiders at +130, +125. Listen, the Chargers have a great team on paper, but there's been times where they've gotten out there and just not shown it. The Raiders do not have a great team on paper, but honestly, all season long, this is a team that's just been going out there and hanging in games and kind of surprising people and, kind of just hanging around. And you look at them here now in the last week of the season with an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Very, very excited to see this game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's a great game for us to end the NFL season on here. And like I said, I am bearish on the Chargers, bullish on the Raiders as a 3-point home dog here for the last game of the season. That wraps it up for our NFL Week 18 sports betting picks video here at FTN Bets. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been rocking with us all season long. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun, as much fun as I do making these videos every week. Hopefully you all made some money and, have a couple extra bucks to put in your pocket. We will be bringing you wild card and playoff matchups and everything as well. But obviously we don't have as much to talk about because there's going to be way less games. We got 6 games next week. We'll have 4 games the week after that. And then we get down to just the AFC, NFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So we will be doing a video, but it probably won't be as long as this. which actually is pretty good because it'll let us get a little more in depth on each individual game, which is something that I'll be happy about. So for FTN Bets, this is Benny Ricciardi signing off. Good luck, everybody.